Welcome back to Before Dieting. This is a podcast where we ditch the blame and shame so we can take a clear-eyed look at what really causes recurring weight. I'm your host, Bronwyn Fletcher, and in today's episode, I want to make the case for you to unhook from diet culture and its mantra that being overweight is a simple overeating problem with a simple dieting solution. I particularly want to change your mind about how diet culture promotes the view that diets work for everyone. And if it didn't work for you, then you must be at fault. Possibly that you didn't try hard enough or that you should have used more willpower. The truth of the matter is, even for someone who isn't trying to lose weight, body weight itself is a set of complex interacting systems. In Western thinking, there's an urgency to solve all problems as quickly as possible. We're taught to name the problem, find a solution, and just get on with it. So when we've got a visible problem like excess weight, the answer to get on a diet is so obvious, it's hard to think about it in any other way. And of course, diet culture is always there with its never-ending list of habits and quick fixes for us to use. You know the sorts of things I'm talking about, like don't eat before 10 a.m, walk your 10,000 steps, and of course, drink 8 glasses of water a day. And these simple single actions appeal to us because we like the idea of habits helping to solve the problem. And hey, if we can do something a few times and from then on it happens automatically, what's not to like? So when someone suggests a habit like drinking a glass of water before each meal, it sounds easy, manageable, and logical. It's simple, right? You drink the water, you feel fuller, and it makes sense as a way to eat less. But here's the thing, a habit of drinking water might temporarily help with fullness, but you would need to develop another habit to deal with the rebound eating that usually occurs later. My point is, habits can be useful in specific conditions. But if you just focus on building 40 little habits to address 40 little problems associated with your weight, you're building a pile that collapses as soon as life gets busy. The cognitive load alone in trying to habit your way to losing weight is exhausting. And most of those activities never end up being automatic because the system that generated the weight in the first place hasn't changed. Which means these habits and hacks can only ever scratch the surface because they're addressing the individual parts of the system, not the system as a whole. So what can you do? Well, for starters, let's trade the idea of weight being a simple problem to be solved and reframe it as a jigsaw puzzle that needs to be completed. What makes jigsaws such a fitting analogy is the way they demand an understanding of the whole. When it's finished, a jigsaw shows the whole picture. And in the case of a weight puzzle, you'll find that very few pieces are about food and calories, and you probably find willpower doesn't even crack a mention. If we fall into the trap of thinking losing weight is simple, then there are only 2 parts. You have the problem, which is the weight, and you have the solution, which is the diet. When we approach losing weight as a puzzle, you'll discover there are many more pieces that need to be included, and many of them, as I've already said, don't involve eating. I'm talking about things like how you learnt to feed yourself when you were growing up, and the many food and eating rules you absorbed without question. But when we're stuck on the idea that weight loss is simple, our focus is narrowed to only a few pieces, making it impossible to see the full picture. Another useful point in the puzzle analogy is that it highlights the individual nature of recurring weight. All women will have pieces in common, like the pieces for the edges and the corners. But every woman's upbringing, her dieting experience, her food choices and life experience will be different, and which is why it requires her to discover her own story. Believing weight loss is a simple problem is the reason why so many women feel stuck. And your smart brain doesn't help. When it comes to complex problems, it's hard for your conscious mind to hold all the moving parts. The brain loves a clearly named problem with a simple solution because it wants to focus on one thing to fix at a time. Recurring weight, however, is complex and operates in 3 dimensions. There's the emotional, the physical, and the familial. And it's these systems that keep us circling back to the same old patterns. If we want our brains to help find a way out of the loop, we need to think about language for a second and how we frame our problem-solving questions. Asking the question, how do I lose weight? It's not only a frustrating and disempowering question, it sends the brain around the same old loop where the only answer is to diet. But if we ask a disruptive or counterintuitive question like, what protection does my body fat give me, it can help you step outside the groove where dieting is the only answer. And once we have a more complete picture of everything involved in your recurring weight, then habits and nudges can be brought back into help. It might be that you eat dinner earlier to stave off those end-of-day hunger attacks. Or it could mean taking a walk around the block when the pantry is calling to you. So let me finish up by leaving you with 3 key points that I want you to get from this episode. The first one is, achieving permanent weight loss is complex, not simple. The second is, reframing a weight problem to a weight puzzle can unlock new thinking for you. And the third one is, trying to habit your way to weight loss is not only exhausting, it will keep you looping back through those old patterns that you're actually trying to get away from. If you'd like to see an example of a weight loss puzzle, you can check out my latest blog at waitingforhappiness.com.au. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk with you next week.